So there are three approaches that Epic Games could have used to grow their store, fan base, or even compete against Steam, which I think is their primary and underlying goal. And one of the approaches could have been they could have developed a new game based on the amount of money that they have. They could have done serious, massive research and gotten a game that will be valid or valuable to a good community of gamers in maybe the next few years, because development usually will take a few years to make, and then they want to still make sure that that game is relevant by the time the game is released. So you don't want to start making a game in your kitchen and then 3-4 years later marketing trends have grown away from that. You're going to suffer a big loss. They could have also developed their store. That's another thing they could have done. They could have made their store one of the best user-friendly areas or environments for somebody who is a PC gamer to come to, and make it very attractive by making sure that there are things like consumer protection of your data, in order to answer the questions that the critics have raised, making sure that it's not any, in a sense, spyware, because I understand companies need information to be able to market to their customers, to be able to maybe upsell them or continue to market to them. That's understandable. If you go to maybe Good Old Games, there are emails about sales and all those things that they send to you, but many people try to respect your consumer privacy data, so they could have done that. And the final thing that they could have done is, probably start to reduce their prices, and make sure that their store is competitively pricing their games and their software on there. And so these three things, at any point, if they had done any single one of them, Epic Games would have started to win this whole we want to take away the monopoly from Steam type battle. They could have made a good game and sold that game exclusively on Epic Games, which they ended up going ahead to buy Rocket League, which is an already established game, but that's something else we'll talk about. So I wanted to quickly speak on this practice that Epic Games is doubling down on. Now, one thing a lot of people may not recognize is the people who are actually running things at Epic Games are not little kids. The CEO himself is almost 50 years old. Now, he's a young guy, yeah, but compared to the average gamer today is about 34, 35 years old. He is significantly older, so he has a lot of experience in the gaming industry, and he has a vendetta against Steam, and that's understandable. But right now, what he's playing the game, trying to see how he can agitate the Steam setup. And I'm all for Steam, but at the same time, I do encourage fair competition. I really do. I'm wanting to see Steam get some good competition to make them better at what they're doing. But this is not the approach to use. And Epic Games is taking the exact wrong approach, which is developing or forcing this change to happen instead of building this change to happen for 50, 60, and 100 years. Now, what do I mean? The developers at Epic Games, or the people who call the shots at Epic Games, they want to see this thing happen in the next few years. They could take these other approaches, but these other approaches are going to take a long time. They seem like they're going to take a while before they can actually see the fruits of what they want. So instead, they want to take it right now by force. And what's going to happen is this. They've grown too big, and they're making the same mistake that many people who grow too big eventually make. They start to get lax. They don't see themselves as vulnerable. They have a lot of money. They've made a lot of money from Fortnite and from the Unreal Engine. And so what they see themselves in a place where they're a little bit of, they think they have some invincibility, but that's not true. Everyone's got a vulnerability. And right now, I think the biggest vulnerability is their attitude towards the gaming community, who are really the customers, the consumers, because what this is going to do is it's going to continue to cause a break between developers and their communities. And let me put this in perspective. The way you sell video games is you sell video games to communities. If you make a video game that doesn't have a community that is ready to grasp at that video game, then you have to really make a hard sell. On the other hand, if you already have a community ready to go, then you can quickly gain an audience with ease without doing much. And let me give you the example. CD Projekt Red. CD Projekt Red made The Witcher 3. They made the Witcher games, 1, 2, 3. Witcher 3 being arguably a very good contender for one of the better games that's been made out there in the sense of effort. Not necessarily, it doesn't meet all the bells and whistles standards or the polish of many other games, but the effort which the producers and the developers put into that game has stood them out for 10 years. Easy. So right now they're working on Cyberpunk 2077, and just as a result of what they did with The Witcher 3 and the amount of content and value they provided, they're able to sell with ease Cyberpunk 2077 to a huge community of The Witcher people. Easy community development over the course of those years is going to pay off. The Witcher was just one of those things that will pay off for CD Projekt Red because of the amount of effort they've put in. And so that is how you sell video games. That is the best way I know to sell a video game. If I was making a new game, I'll be looking for a community out there and start to actually get them involved in the game creation process and then bring them on board. But right now, what Epic Games is doing, getting these exclusives, is creating a break between the developers and their community, because now they're going to make a game exclusive. In some cases, the developers had already said to their community that we're going to bring these games out on Steam, but then because of the so-called better cut, the developers now move and get an exclusive deal to Epic Games, which has a negative light in the eyes of many members of the gaming community. And so this causes a break. And so the question I need to ask these developers is, if Epic Games gets your game for a year and you make a little bit more money, how are you sure that they're going to take on your second game in the same fashion that they did on your first game? So maybe you made, let's just call the game Skydivers Part 1, and Epic Games says, oh, it's going to be an Epic Games exclusive for a year, for 6 months. Fine. Well, when it's time for you to make Skydivers Part 2, who's to say that the community that you ticked off, the first half, maybe 50% of your community that was mad at you because you didn't deliver the game as promised, is going to buy Skydivers Part 2? I think out of spite or out of the fact that you don't value your community members, they're not going to buy your second game. You're going to eventually have a game that's sitting there. God help you, your so-called savior, Epic Games, does not pick up your second game. And so right now, I think anyone that's siding with Epic Games may seem to have a case to be made, but the truth is, you cannot develop a 50, 100, 150-year company on these practices. You can't do it. Go talk to any business person out there and ask them, and none of them will tell you that this is going to run a 100-year success. We're not going to see, and I can almost put let's throw money on it. You're not going to see an Epic Games domination of the PC games market. It ain't going to happen. I mean, it's just the way it is. The reason Steam has been very, very consistent at being the dominant force, is because they've done some things right, and they've kept those things as core, as part of their entirety. At first, from what I've heard from those who are really, into gaming history, Steam was not necessarily welcome. In fact, Windows Games was not really welcome as well. Even Tim Sweeney himself kind of ranted against Windows Live Gaming, that based on what I heard anyways, and now he's the same person trying to do the exact same thing, which is funny. And I think he's got a personal agenda against Steam, but he doesn't really want to come out and just outrightly say it. So he wants to continue to, push and see how much he can get away with. But the truth is, eventually, these gaming developers are going to see what's happening. And I think this is exactly the reason CD Projekt Red put that tweet out there. They asked them, they said, so is this going to be an Epic Games exclusive? Do you know what their response was? Nah, we'll pass. We've done our job and we've served our gaming. Let me continue that statement. Nah, we'll pass. We've done our job and we've served our gaming community by providing them value and making our customers feel valuable. Hence, when we release a game, even if the game is going to be selling at Walmart and whatever, or on Steam, where we're going to probably pay 30%, we are going to make a ton of money because our community is going to support us. Man, that felt good to say. I mean, don't you think about it? Think about it that way. I genuinely think that if Epic Games wants to really make Steam and upend Steam, then they need to serve a community of gamers, which right now they are alienating it's very funny that they think they have enough money to alienate customers. There are many, many corporations that have actually tried to do this. They've tried to gouge their customers or tried to strong arm their customers or make some really, and we're not going to say there's anything legally shady about what they're doing. It's just there's the ethical side of it. And it's that ethical side, you're not shaking the right hands right now, because many of us eventually, as we start to grow up as adults, we start to take things, very importantly. It may still be our video games, but we're not children anymore. Yes, we have the childlike fun aspect of enjoying gaming as an entertainment source, but we also want to see people do right by us. And I think that's where Epic Games has a mountain to climb and is probably going to balk and give up this stunt. The whole purchase of Rocket League is just it's just a stunt, just a power play. They went ahead and bought the developer just to say, hey, we got money and we're coming on the table, which is funny because I don't play Rocket League. A lot of people said, oh, this is it's one of the fun and most, amazing soccer game. Hey, I'm just going to be the first to say it. Rocket League is not a soccer game where cars are kicking a ball and they call it soccer into a goal. That's not what Rocket League is. It's just a car game to hit a football. I'm a soccer person. I grew up in Africa, so deal with it. It is not a soccer game. If you want a soccer game, get 11 guys on the pitch or get 5 guys inside of a court, and then we start to talk about football, soccer. Okay, don't give me that Rocket League is a soccer game crap. I mean, it's a nice game. I'm not saying anything against the game. It's a very nice game. In fact, I was going to buy the game just to spy Epic Games on Steam, but then I realized, crud, the money's still going to be going to Epic Games, so I had to just go, well, whatever. And it was probably a big payday for the Rocket League developers because if I was a Rocket League developer, I'll probably sell and be out. I would not want to work and crunch for those guys. I'll go start up something else somewhere else. But I do not think Epic Games can continue this. I give them max 3 years before they can think exclusives are going to be their way to bring people to their store or their way for them to, I don't know, what's the point again? To try to force Steam to increase its quality, increase its algorithm, or filter its games that are on the platform. I don't understand what they're saying. Maybe there are things that Steam does have to do to get better, but Epic Games is not going to come here and say, oh, Steam is being unrighteous, hence we're going to use these moves to make Steam righteous. That's a whole load of crud. We ain't buying that crap. But, Timmy and crew, I wish you all the best, but that's not how Coca-Cola built a 100+ year company. They didn't do it by doing that. That's not how, Berkshire Hathaway, that's not how they built the multi-billion-dollar platform that they are today. So if you think this is going to help you in any way get to that position, go for it. But I have not seen a company that has lasted way, way, way past a lot of the storms that can hit businesses do so by alienating their own customers. So if you guys think you have a different formula, hey, I'll be really interested in seeing. God willing, we're here to see how all of this plays out. But I say thumbs up to Steam for, just continuing to take their time. They really own the market share. Epic Games is just buying exclusives, and the exclusives aren't going to do anything. The games are going to still come to Steam. They're still going to, in fact, outsell Steam. So-called World War Z developers were celebrating, but I think their celebrations were premature. Let's see what the sales of Metro Exodus on Steam in February will look like compared to Epic Games Store. I think it will still be a massive hit on Steam even a year later. I can almost guarantee that it will kill it when it comes to PC sales on Steam, just because the gaming community is just hard pressed to support developers and kind of allow themselves the freedom to purchase a game wherever they want. Anyways, that's my opinion piece. I really hope Epic Games will change their strategy. If they do, they'll win. Right now, they are literally on this very dangerous path that it's not worked. You just have to be a student of history. Go open the books of every big major corporation that you've seen, and they'll tell you that credibility is how they've thrived. Even when they found themselves going astray, in some senses, maybe they've done some things that were not customer friendly. They've had to come back and rebuild their credibility. And I think these developers, they don't see the gaming community as anyone that they respect. They don't. I mean, gamers can be very hard to deal with, but I think they're looking down on their gaming community and they're just, saying, yeah, but it's a very premature thing to do. But, these guys are still young guys. They may be 50, 40 something year old guys, but compared to some real business gurus out there that are 80 years old, they're still little babies. So they're taking their baby steps in business. They think they've arrived, but they really haven't. But hopefully they'll learn down the road. All right, I'm out. Thank you guys for this audience that you've given this video. If you like the content, you can subscribe here on the channel. I'll be trying to bring some opinion pieces on things going on in the gaming scene, and it's going to be very casual conversation. I want to hear what you guys think in the comment section, and so we can actually open this up for people around the general audience to kind of input in. So that's all I got. Again, thank you very much for your time and audience, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.